Eurosport Chancellor, to be perfectly honest, but they're on the 24 Hours of Le Mans. But we are going to bring you flag-to-flag coverage of the Le Mans 24-hour race. So sorry for the confusion there, as the number 4 car, the third place car, Oliver Jarvis, brings his car onto pit lane in third place. Routine service once again for the Englishman, and boy, he's really enjoying being back. Yeah, in a proper car here at Le Mans, Johnny.
Absolutely. I sat down with Oliver actually when we were in Sebring testing after the 12 hours there, and he was there with Audi doing a full test. And we should actually give Timo Bernhard an honourable mention here, I think, Jeremy, because unfortunately, obviously, he's not out there as well because of an incident that he had through no fault of his own in an incident there going into turn 17 at Sebring, a very high speed accident. But he's obviously still recovering, although he's pretty much back up to speed, I believe, from what I've heard. But yeah, Oliver Jarvis loving being a part of this, obviously DTM as well, but I think he really loves this sports cars, the downforce. It's getting him back into sort of that Formula 1 type of role where he really feels he's in a car that's just at the cutting edge of technology. I mean, nothing against DTM cars, they're absolutely brilliant pieces of machinery, but you can't beat, can you, one of these LMP1 cars driving around Le Mans at over 300 and something kilometres an hour.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Never had that opportunity. And a new chassis, completely built up a fresh car. And quite remarkably, that AF Corsa team got the car out on the track with about, well, I think it was about 20 minutes to go in the final qualifying session on Thursday night. So it started from it was almost at the back. It wasn't quite at the back because they did actually get out there and qualify the car.
Yes, they did, yes.
And Tony Vilander got that car right up into contention right away. Jimmy Bruni and Giancarlo Fisichella have been carrying on the good work, and they have been very much carrying the battle to the Corvette. Mark Lieb is back into third place.
That's a great effort from them. I mean, you were right earlier to say they snuck under the radar, Jeremy, because I didn't even notice them until Henzer suddenly appeared in third place, and then Mark Lieb's out there doing some good lap times, doing a fantastic job. Albeit then behind them you got the 73 Corvette with Antonio Garcia at the wheel, and then the Jamie Mello, my old teammate in the 59 luxury racing Ferrari, again a lap down on the first two, in other words, a lap down on the Corvette, and the 51 AF Corsa Vilander Ferrari, and then Stefan Mucker, the number 97 Aston Martin, doing some great lap times at the moment. He's done 2 lots of 356s on the trot, including the fastest lap for that car at this stage, and the car that was battling and swapping the lead with the Corvette sort of every other lap is at the moment back in 6th place in GTE Pro, but they're not out of it by any means. Very much not. And the last lap around, Stefan Mucker, 3 minutes 56.6. That's a heck of a lap. And the lap before, I think he did a 56.2. I mean, he's absolutely on it if you compare that to the guys in front. Yeah, the leaders, all the other cars above him are doing 3:59s, apart from Vilander, who had a 4 minutes 02 on that lap. So a blinding lap from Stefan Mucker. So they're coming back from a bit of a delay. The other Aston Martin entry, the amateur class car number 99, I believe, has been retired. So that car is out of the race. But the battle is just trimmed here, shows where they are in relation to the overall leader. So we have to really pay attention to find out how close Lieb is behind the first two. But certainly Garcia and Mello, there's a couple of seconds only between those two. That is a battle for 4th and 5th, and they've been going back and forth for hours, basically. In GTE Amateur, it's still the Labra competition Corvette that leads. Pedro Lamy still at the wheel of that car number 50, and in second place in the amateur class is Nicola Armindo, who is at the wheel of the number 67 car. That's the IMSA Performance Matmut car. Armindo shares with Anthony Pons and Raymond Narak, and they're only about a half a minute behind Pedro Lamy. So all sorts of battles all the way down. Jeremy Shaw and Johnny Molan bringing you live coverage, pretty much flag to flag, of the 80th running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and thrilled to be able to do so, aren't we? Absolutely loving it, Jeremy. Now it's getting proper dark out there, isn't it? The colourful lights are out. The grandstands are still, I would say, 3/4 full. Everyone's enjoying it, and it's a privilege to be here witnessing this and watching the cars. And I like this new commentary position, Jeremy. I have to say, do too. We're at the level of the cars. You watch the speed they're coming through. You can actually see the driving ability from the guys coming through, how quickly they take this sequence of S's through these chicanes directly in front of us. They come out onto the start-finish, and how much they're able to flow speed through there. And like we were mentioning earlier, how good the Audis look in comparison to everything else out there in terms of stability over the curbs.
Yeah, we've had the last few years. I've done this for 5 years now for Eurosport, and we've been very privileged to have a position right at the top of the ACO tower overlooking the pits. It's a great view of the pits and the front straight, but all the other corners, anything really interesting, was quite a long way away. So I heard about it, we were told about a month ago that our booth wasn't going to be available up there. They needed it for hospitality suites. Hey, they're trying to make some money, who could blame them, let's face it. So we were told we were going to have our booth down in the TV compound, and I kind of assumed that we were going to have no kind of a view, just sort of stuck in a box somewhere. But we are, as Johnny said, on the inside of the Ford chicane. And I have to say, Johnny, you talked about being able to watch the cars through the corner here.
Yes.
And it is obviously a totally different perspective from what we get up in the tower. We could see the cars coming through here from the tower. It's about, what, a quarter of a mile away. But I was surprised when I first sat in here, actually, how much speed the cars do carry through this Ford chicane.
Well, especially the prototypes and the GT to some to the different reasons. I mean, the GT can take a lot more curve, although the prototypes are taking a lot because of the downforce. They can take a lot of curve here, and these curves are quite flat. As you see, this is a leading Audi coming through, and just watch him on that exit as he touches that. Look, the rear bounces twice and settles.
Yeah.
Unbelievable how much speed they can carry through here.
And it's really cool because you can really see where they get on the power and how the cars just jump off the corner.
And as a driver, you can sit here and watch what the drivers are doing. I can see their steering inputs. I can see how they have the transition because it's basically the Ford chicane, just for those of you that don't know, is a series of basically one quite fast chicane where you can't take too much curve on the first apex, and then you come out and then you go straight away into a short straight into a second chicane with quite large curves leading out onto a pit straight. It's a very important corner because although it's not that much of a straight, it's a reasonable straight up to the Dunlop Bridge from the exit of this corner. So it's quite a critical corner for lap time, and you can actually see the drivers here who are really committed and putting not as much pitch into the car. They're not hitting the brakes quite as hard and flowing more speed into the apex.
And they are taking it in third gear down here, so it is pretty quick. There's a quick look there at some of the other activities that are going on. You can see the crowd there is at the Nissan stage. There's all sorts of entertainment going on all around this racetrack. And I have to say that Nissan really is putting in a massive effort here. In addition to that entertainment stage, they've also got a sky view system that it's a big jack, I guess. It takes you about 20 people 35 meters up in the air, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's somewhere down by the Porsche curves. I haven't seen it. I don't think I probably want to go up on it. But
sounds good.
Well, yeah, all right. I'm quite happy with our view here, actually. The gap from first to second, 1 minute 25 seconds. That's come down by about a half a minute. Not quite sure why. I think they're on the same, pretty much the same pit stop strategy. 115 laps completed by Marcel Fassler in car number 1, Dindo Capello in car number 2.
According to that, Dindo's one pit stop less at the moment than those around him. So.
Yeah, true. The number 1 car was pretty much untroubled. I think he did make it maybe
pitted quite recently, don't you remember? It must have been about, what, 3-4 laps ago that we were talking about him. I'm pretty sure he just that's when you were talking about the drinks bottles, the red and the blue drinks bottles. That wasn't that long ago. I mean, I know time sort of all blends into one long minute here, but it doesn't feel that long ago.
In P2, Maxime Martin still leads that category by an increasing margin over Jacques Nicolet, and Warren Hughes has now taken over the wheel of the number 48 Murphy Prototypes car, running in third place, and he too is a very competent driver, now showing there's only less than 20 seconds behind Jacques Nicolet. Therefore that ongoing battle for second and third in P2. Enzo Potolicchio next up, about a minute and a half behind Warren Hughes. Then it's Marc Genet moving his way back up the order in the LMP1 car number 3. That was the car that had the problem earlier on at the one of the chicanes on the Mulsanne Straight. It would have been the first chicane, wasn't it, where he ran off the road and did what seemed like an enormous amount of damage to the right front corner of that car, and 8 laps later the car's back in the race. That was quite remarkable.
And moving up the order as well. I mean, I was just thinking, how long is it going to be before they'll be in front of all the P2s and back onto into the P1 category, and probably sort of what, 7th overall, as well as being 7th in P1.
Indeed, it'll be another probably 10 laps or so, not that long at all. Behind Marc Genet then is the next of the P2 cars, Nelson Pansutici in the Signatec Nissan car number 26. He's about half a minute behind Marc Genet, and then Sahir Ayari in car number 49, the Pecan Racing Lola Judd, the open top car. He's about a minute behind, and then Jordan Tresson in second of the Signal Tech Nissans, car number 23. So that battle is continuing. Jacques Nicolet has just brought the number 24 back into that car, because he's the guy who started the race.
Yes.
And it's his turn now in the rotation.
And he did a superb job, didn't he, in the test days as well, Jeremy? He was. They put him in both cars, and he was quickest. He was like first and second, basically, on himself. And yeah, Olivier Pla, obviously another of those drivers reputed to have had a Peugeot contract in his pocket when it all went pop, and doing a superb job. And nice to see him out there. He was actually involved a few years ago in the Zytec program as well, and a fantastic guy, a fantastic driver, and just great to see him out there doing well in P2. And I would say at the moment, definitely one of those cars that's in the mix for the P2 class victory.
Yes, indeed. Another couple of notes here on Twitter. From Giles Bovis. Great coverage as usual. Thank you very much, Giles. What would you say the likelihood is of a Daytona prototype entering in the coming years? 0, I'm afraid, Giles. Those cars aren't eligible for this sort of competition. The Daytona prototypes are a very different. They might have some similarities, but they are completely different specifications, and they were not eligible for ACO competition. So, afraid not on that one. Andy Prio, who? He, of course, of BMW, following us on Eurosport. Again, great coverage. Thanks, Andy. We pay you well. Say hi to my wingman, Johnny Molan. All right, job done. Thanks very much, Andy. Great to hear from you. Glad you're watching us.
Yes, Andy and I have had a lot of fun together over the years, and obviously he was here at Le Mans last year, yeah. And I know for a fact that this is one of the few races that he really enjoyed in sports cars. Probably not a massive enjoyment factor for Andy in sports cars in general, but I know that this race really caught his imagination, as it would any top professional racing driver, and I know he enjoyed being a part of it.
Yeah, very much so. He's concentrating this year, of course, on the DTM in Germany, with the brand new BMW Focus on that series, taking on the established might of Mercedes and Audi, and that's turning into a very interesting competition, isn't it?
It's so competitive, that series, and obviously BMW's first year in, and they're all doing a great job actually, and BMW, I think, surprised a few people by how quickly they got up there and won a race, and are doing really, really well.
Yeah, that's tremendous to see, and is Joey Hand is good to see. I'm based in America these days. It's good to see Joey Hand, who's come up through the ranks very well. He raced in Europe. How long ago was that? 12 years ago now. He did the former Palmer Audi Winter Series, did Joey Hand. Thoroughly enjoyed himself. It's taken him a long time to get back to racing in Europe on a regular basis. He's done a... Welcome back to Eurosport's coverage. Missed a thing. We are the 80th running of the Le Mans 24-hour race. It's still Marcel Fessler who leads in the Audi R18 e-tron Quattro, but look at this. Car number 7 is looks like it's going to be back in the fray very, very soon indeed. That car ran absolutely fantastically through the first 4 or 5 hours of the race. Nicolas Lapierre did an incredible quintuple stint, 5 stints in a row.
Awesome.
And he took,
nothing short of awesome.
And he took the lead back and forth. He were on one lap. He finally took the lead into Arnage corner, and then literally moments later, his teammate Anthony Davidson had a huge crash at the end of the Mulsanne. We're under a lengthy caution, but the car ground to a halt.
I think that was the 31 LMP2.
I hope so.
You shouldn't say things like that. Listen, I'm sat here in a Lotus show. I will not allow you to say that, Jeremy.
Well, I bet it was.
All viewers, I'm punching Jeremy as we speak.
I hope it wasn't the Toyota as well. I bet. Well, I should have said.
Oh no, look, it was the Toyota. Yeah, there you go. That'll serve you right. Yes.
But it stopped right at the end. That is at pit out there.
He's not left the pit lane, so they can actually go and touch him.
Get it, and he can probably coast backwards down there.
Yeah, there you go. There they go, running up the pit lane to have a look at him, and it really has turned to whatever for the Toyota team, and they were doing so well, as you rightly said. Lapierre, at least he got his moment of glory, and the team got their moment of glory, and for Hugh de Schonack and the Toyota boys, that would have been a sweet moment. But now they kind of knew probably that they wouldn't get to the end, but for it to all fall apart so quickly for them in such a short pace of time must be, well, I know from personal experience, it's heartbreaking.
and you know, they took the lead absolutely on merit. I mean,
yeah,
on pace, he caught up and he passed the leading Carnival one. It was absolutely a brilliant drive. And then, unfortunately, we had a long, lengthy caution period while they rebuilt the barriers down in Mulsanne Corner. And then almost immediately the restart, the number 7 car, this car here, was involved in an incident, unfortunately even more with the Nissan Delta wing coming through the Porsche curves. And there was heavy damage. Well, there was contact between the two.
Yeah.
This car came into the pits.
I can't believe, though, that contact has caused all these problems that are happening. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I just think perhaps it's just coincidence. This is what tends to happen at Le Mans. One thing goes wrong, and then something completely unrelated goes wrong, and the next thing is in this downward death spiral, and it all starts going wrong.
Yeah, that's a fair comment, and I'm going to be going down to the pits myself fairly shortly after I finish my stint here. So when I come back on, actually sometime in the morning, I'll...
You're going to leave me?
No, there'll be plenty of other people probably joining you, Johnny. Well, don't worry about that. But it's the long walk back down the pit lane for the number 7 crew. They've spent, it's been in the pits for well over an hour.
Yes, it has.
It's slipped down now to 44th place overall.
So strange. So, man, this is when you really want the thing to just stop. As a driver, you want to be out there driving for something. I mean, you know, it is difficult, but you have to keep going and you have to keep persevering, because you just never know what could happen. If they could get this running again reliably to the end, they're going to gather so much useful data and information for this program. This is still in its infancy. We mustn't forget Toyota, you know, they weren't at Spa. So obviously you're in a situation now where this is really their first true proper test of this car, so they've done incredibly well.
They have indeed. I mean, the plan at the beginning of the season, we talked about it earlier on, was to run one car here at Le Mans and one other race towards the end of the season, and that was going to be the program for this year. It was only after Peugeot was pulled out and the FIA put a bit of pressure on them. Can you bring forward that program so we've at least got a battle between Audi and somebody else, in this case Toyota, in the World Endurance Championship? And incredibly, Toyota said yes. The originally plan was to take one car to Spa. That got delayed because they crashed the car in a test at Paul Ricard. But they've
I noticed they put Alex Burke's there. Sorry to interrupt there.
Yeah, I'd seen Alex getting ready in the garage.
Nakajima can't have done very many laps at all.
No, very few laps.
I've got somebody else on Twitter, so if anyone's got any questions to myself or Jeremy, just tweet me on @Johnny Molam, JOHNNY, M for Michael, OWLEM for Michael. Graham has asked me what the rough visibility distance with the headlights in the cars is at night, which is a very good question actually, because sometimes you can see an awful lot's going on ahead, but you'd actually be surprised how much dirt and muck gets thrown up by the cars as they're going through some of these corners. And so quite often you'll go through a corner if someone's just dropped a wheel off or something, and you'll just see a haze of smoke ahead of you. But certainly in the prototypes, when I've been in P1 here, the visibility is very, very good. And what they do with the lights as well coming up to the corners is they have apex, what they call apex lights, and then full beam lights. And the apex lights actually cross across the front of the car, so it actually allows you, because you're never really in a race car looking straight ahead other than maybe on the straights. Going into a corner, you're always looking to your right or to your left, and those apex lights pick up those curbs very neatly and very early, and actually give you a chance to actually spot your apex long before you get into the corner. And if for some reason those go out through electrical fault or everything, it really makes your life difficult, and you can lose you a couple of seconds a lap at night around somewhere like Le Mans, where it gets very dark out the back, just by not having your headlights adjusted correctly.
Thank you very much indeed, Johnny Molan. That was the 6th place car in GTE Amateur, the number 55 car, making a pit stop. It was Joel Camathias taking over at the wheel of the car, I think, from Paul Daniels, who'd been driving the previous stint. 6th place in the class. There it is now, coming through underneath the Dunlop Bridge one more time. They are 3 laps behind the leaders in GT Amateur, but still having certainly a good run. It was in the pits not too long ago, and all of a sudden, from leading the class,
8:52 there.
Yeah, and that was the out lap. So
yes,
it's been a long stop before. He's come straight back in that case.
I wonder if maybe they did a pad change or something. But mind you, that's a long time even for a pad change.
No, he's just come straight back in.
Oh, has he come straight back in?
Yes.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah. So obviously got some issues there.
So they're slipping back down the order. Warren Hughes now.
Wasn't it to maybe, or not an easy way, but an easier way to get yourself a Le Mans class victory? But that is definitely no longer the case, and it almost became inherited from the American Le Mans Series, Jeremy, which you know well, obviously having worked over there a long time. if you remember, the P2 category in the American Le Mans Series almost became the race for a while with the Porsche, Penske Porsches and the HPDs and everything. And I think it's kind of now come over here into Le Mans, and it's just amazing to watch this battle going on in LMP2 between so many different cars, so many different teams, and essentially, obviously, privateer teams, because no factory involvement is allowed in LMP2.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely wonderful. They've done a fantastic job, I think, with the rules in LMP2. And as we heard from John Doonan of Mazda a little while ago, there's going to be a diesel engine in this category next year. A little bit of variety, and it's not a massively costly. It's a customer package. It's aimed towards privateers, so I think the cost will be sensible. And I think it's again another good step forward for this class. We're joined again by Stuart Hall. Kind of good and bad. The other Pescarolo car, the Durham chassis, that was running very nicely for quite a while. It's had several lengthy problems, but that still is back in the fray now. Sechiaro is at the wheel, and that car seems to be running reasonably well.
Of Seiji, Nick Manassian and Sebastian Bourdais, unfortunately with the problems it hasn't been able to, but it certainly could have challenged these front guys in the petrol part of LMP1. But is that the JWA Automotive car being pulled back into the pits?
Yeah, I think it is. Well, they were running. Well, this car was in the pits just a little while ago, wasn't it?
And Peter Dunbreck's just come in with a puncher, left rear puncher on the HPD, and they're actually putting that in the garage due to some bodywork damage on the rear as well. The gravity panel's been taken off because of the puncher, so they're going to have to change the whole rear end and make that car legal before they send it on its way again.
And that's a great shame for the JRM team that we talked about just a little while ago. Peter Dunbreck at the wheel. He had a good long stint at the wheel of that car.
You can see there by the body language, he suddenly lost the rear. I love that. You watch racing drivers talking to each other. It's all a series of hand gestures. Obviously, David Bradman standing there waiting to get into the car. He obviously decided to do a driver change whilst they're also fixing the rear of the car. As Stuart says, no matter how slowly you come back into the pits with a puncture, the belts come off on the tyre and it starts flailing around in the wheel arch, and it always creates some sort of damage. And even if you were to come in at like 10-15 miles an hour, it's going to cause a lot of damage. And the trouble is, you don't want to come in too slowly, otherwise you end up losing more time than by coming in a little bit quicker and fixing it in the pits, because it's such a long lap.
And it was a long lap. It was 12 minutes it took, right? So he must have had that puncture pretty early in that lap.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the way around. Great disappointment for those guys. They got themselves right back into contention. They were not far at all behind.
That's such a shame.
Both of the rebellions, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Such a shame. I still think that the LMP2 winner here is going to be in the top 5 overall. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
Agreed, definitely agreed.
Yeah, at this stage.
You've got 3 Audis there. Possibly one of them's going to have a problem. You wouldn't bet on them both all finishing in the top 3. That gives a chance to one petrol car, Prost in the Lola, Bellici in the Lola, the HBD that we've just seen, and then those P2s are there to clean up any mess that's made as well.
Absolutely. And the Rebellion Lolas are running really, really well here in 4th and 5th position. A fantastic effort from both of them, and they're keeping them pretty much going like clockwork, those two.
Yeah, Johnny, you've had experience of that sort of car. You've been driving the Dyson car recently in the States. What can you tell us about it?
Well, I was mentioning to Jeremy earlier on, and this was almost like not sort of making Nakajima blameless in the Toyota to the incident in the Porticos, but those high wheel arches running that really tall front tyre make visibility incredibly difficult when you're going into any corner of any sort of tight angle, and especially going into somewhere like Arnage or something like that. I guarantee you will have no visibility whatsoever of the apex, and I was shocked actually by how bad the visibility was, and it actually made me realise some of these incidents that I was seeing, why they're happening, and especially in the Audi it's even worse for them, because the A pillar is even bigger, so they've got the tall wheel arch and also no lateral visibility, and it just makes it very, very difficult to judge certain areas, and you're literally just turning in and hoping.
So there is the Toyota still in the garage there. They're working on it again. They looked like the car was going to get back out on the track about 10 minutes or so ago, but it's been wheeled back into the garage. And also the JWA Avila car. We saw Joel Comicius leaving the pit then after taking over from Paul Daniels, and that car 2 back in the pits. And also in the pits here, looks more like routine service, however. Tony Vilander has brought the number 51 car in. There is a change of driver going on there. I fancy that would be Jimmy Bruni taking over the wheel of that car, and that is running second place in GTE Pro behind Oliver Gavin, who still leads for the Corvette. So this is Jeremy Shaw with Johnny Molan and Stuart Hall. We're going to be switching across to Eurosport 2, I think, certainly one of the channels. We'll be back.